Well, welcome everyone. I am Professor David Loertscher from the School of Information at San Jose State University in California. And today we're just thrilled to not just have one presenter, but three. And I'd like to introduce Janet Wile, and she will have each one of our participants introduce themselves. So Janet, take it away.
Thank you so much, Dr. Loertscher. We are so honored to be here today. I am the District Librarian, Supervisor of Library Services for Central Unified School District, which is in Fresno, California. And I moved into this position 10 years ago. And at the same time I moved into this position, our district took an amazing leap and wanted to add teacher librarians, which we had at the high schools, but we did not at the middle schools. And they wanted to add 3 new teacher librarians to our middle school site. So my very first opportunity was to hire 3 incredible people, and we did recruit them. And they had to go to school and do all the hard work. And I told them they had 3 years to make themselves indispensable because they were built into the LCAP funding. And lo and behold, they did it. And so 2 of the participants here today, one was in that original group. The other 2 were not able to be here, but I do have some responses from them. And they are Annie Locrans, who is now retired, but served 5 years at the Rio Vista Middle School Library, and Rosemary King, who is our teacher librarian at El Capitan Middle School. And I would like to introduce you to an amazing librarian, Tommy, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself and then pass it over to Megan.
Thank you, Janet. Hello, everyone. My name is Tommy Martinez, the teacher librarian at Glacier Point Middle School in Central Unified. Before being a teacher librarian, I was an elementary teacher for 10 years here in the same district, and haven't looked back. Thank you.
Oh, wow, great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Megan Turner. I have been at Rio Vista Middle School for the last 5 years. I took over from Annie Locrans when she retired, and I've been very grateful for the opportunity to be here. I've been a teacher librarian for 7 years, 5 years here. And previous to that, I was actually a high school band director in Fresno Unified. And so I took a big leap in a different direction. But just like Tommy, I have not looked back and very grateful.
Well, super. We're glad to have all of you here today. So tell us what made you decide to come into this profession besides just a job offer, to spend all the time and effort to become a teacher librarian, because it's not that easy in California. So what attracts you to this position in your schools?
Well, for myself, I did teach elementary for several years, for 10 years. And through that time and being exposed to our school library, I kind of realized and saw a need for more interaction, more connection. And that's kind of what got me interested in it. I cannot deny the fact that Janet coming in with her enthusiasm and seeing her in our district and being asked to follow her path was definitely something that got me going and was really put me on the path, I believe. The times I would see her come in with her Readers as Leaders program, coming into my elementary classroom with these older students who the kids thought the world of. It drove our literacy and our ability to kind of dive into books kids were eager to read and to kind of emulate what they already saw. So those kind of elements, again, her enthusiasm, I felt like I could be a part of that group and really make a difference in our school libraries.
Great. What about you, Megan?
So obviously I took a very huge leap in educational paths when I chose to leave being a high school band director and became a teacher librarian. For me, I wanted to be around books. I had always been a reader, and that is what initially drew me into wanting to change that educational career path for me. I was still able to work with kids, but I could talk about books. And I will be the first to admit that that is such a superficial part of the job in a lot of ways. There is so much depth to what a teacher librarian can do and does do, that when I did finally go for my credential at Fresno Pacific University, which really is about school librarians, it was an eye-opener on the depth of what a school librarian can do, should do, and is capable of doing. And so it was that really hooked me into this position and into this field. What I've been able to do in this position has kind of been limitless, and a lot of that's due to Janet. My very first job was actually a district librarian. And while that was an amazing experience that I did for 2 years, I decided that I wanted to be at a school site because of what a site school librarian, teacher librarian could do. And so Janet hooked me in, and haven't looked back.
Oh, great. So Janet, start by telling us the kind of program and the kind of projects that happen in the libraries now that a teacher didn't know about before. You know, what give us some examples, all three of you, but Janet, give us a start on that.
Well, you can see I'm very fortunate. I work with absolutely wonderful team, and I was looking at the answer of our 2 other team members who had responded to why they became teacher librarians. And, you know, there's always that love of literacy and love of learning. But I think for so many of us, including Rosie and Annie and myself, it was that opportunity to really make a different type of connection with students. And as a TL, because you don't have an assigned group of students every day, getting to know the kids on an individual basis, from my perspective, really required us to come up with programs that would draw the students into the library. I am going to let Tommy, when it's his turn, talk about his makerspace. I'm going to let Megan, when it's her turn, talk about Battle of the Books, because those are areas where our middle school teacher librarians have absolutely excelled and set a level of standard. But from my own experience, when I was at the high school, we started a couple of programs. I was fortunate. I walked into the high school library and fell in love with the energy. I had never seen a library that was full of energy like that. The noise level was not the library of my youth. No one shushed anybody. That there was a level of excitement in there, and I was able to join that team and really began building the collaboration programs first with the classroom teachers. And what I did was I reached out to some of the new teachers who, as I kept thinking, when I was a history teacher, what I wouldn't have given to have somebody come and take my hand and say, let me help you with this huge project. And one of the things Rosie talked a lot about in her responses was History Day. And that has been one of the really early connections for our TLs to make with our classroom teachers and our students, because we can provide such rich resources and really help them in their direction in terms of, you know, what is it that they want to do their project on? How do they find relevant, appropriate, accessible resources, and how do they cite those resources correctly? And so I think starting with the classroom collaboration really made a difference. We even collaborated with our PE department and they came in every single month, and we did the history and the tradition behind all these sports. And students created posters, or during country western line dancing, they made up their own dance. Let me tell you, that was pretty exciting in the library. But early on, I created a program called Athletes as Readers and Leaders, and I owe that to Kate McMillan in Napa Valley. Her son was a high school football coach, and she was the district librarian, and they decided to have the football team go visit the elementary schools and do an assembly and read a picture book with the kids. And I like that idea, but I wanted it to be more intimate. I wanted there to be more of a connection between the athletes and the students at the elementary level. And I felt in our district there was sort of a disconnect between the elementaries and the middle schools and the high schools. And so we created a program where we took student athletes to our elementary schools, and they read books in the classroom to the students that focused on eating healthy and being physically active. Not that you have to be in a sport, just really trying to help the kids see the benefits of getting up and moving. And as Tommy mentioned, these student athletes became rock stars to the elementary schools. And the high school students really began to see that idea of being of service to your community, of giving back, and using their fame, shall we say, to help make a connection with students. And so I think that particular program, and we also developed Slammin' in Your Library, which we do an annual poetry slam at the high school, which is now spread to other schools. We began to develop the book clubs. We created an environment that was so energetic and fun that the kids wanted to be there. And once you start that, boy, let me tell you, it just steamrolled. And we were so fortunate. And I worked with a staff that really understood, and I had wonderful administrators who understood what an effective school librarian can do, and that when you utilize a teacher librarian, you've got someone who can cover all levels of curriculum. You've got someone who can deal with technology, and you have someone who's not departmentalized. We don't have that narrow focus that I can only see my department. We have to see the whole school. And because of that, I think we come in with a very different perspective. So I would love to be quiet and let Tommy and Megan tell you about some of the other programs that they have really put us on the map.
Oh, great. Tommy.
All right. Yes, definitely. Coming into this middle school for the first time, it wasn't a very welcoming space. And so the goal was, how do you bring students into the space? How do you start connecting? How do you start getting to know students? And that really came from, giving the appearance of not an elementary classroom, but of a classroom feel where it was welcoming, not too bright of colors, but content on the walls they can read, that could be motivating, that can support them. And then, slowly and surely, addressing the collection development. But then our clubs, I cannot not say that enough about the club base that the library is able to offer. The makerspace is one of them. I'll get into that in a bit, but book clubs, debate club is part of our history day club that we'd start. And just those elements there would give us the opportunity to make announcements. And then they're hearing the library starting to become more of a place of things are happening at. And the curiosity drives the students. And so that helped out. A lot of the other opportunities we started to give students were like Young Authors Fair, essay contests, writing contests, being part of the spelling bee that somehow came as part of the library's kind of overarching support. And then for myself, it was also stepping out into the coaching realm. I started coaching sports just so that the students became familiar with me. They knew that I was always around, I was available for them. And then they became, it's that trust that I was able to establish with students. And the elementary level, I recall, being a male teacher at the second, third grade level, you really have to break down some of these, some of the unsure students, first time having a male teacher, and just building the trust, making sure that they are coming into a safe environment. And that all happened through the clubs, through the activities, through the opportunities we just give students. And then the makerspace. I had that opportunity through learning through one of our conferences about giving students a chance to kind of learn something new, explore their hand-eye coordination with small little projects. And so that kind of brought out the makerspace, where I was trying to bring more students into the library to see and to learn something new, and inadvertently get them to check out some of our maybe nonfiction books on whatever it was, origami making, bracelet making, just something very simple but engaging, so that they weren't threatened to come in to the library for necessarily a book. They're coming in for a different reason, and then finding the resources available as they were in our space. So those are some of the things that I felt was really impactful in bringing my presence to the school and making the students aware of who I was and what we had to offer in the library.
Absolutely super. Megan, what's going on in your place?
So I came in and Annie had already done a lot of the groundwork, as she was the first TL here. And so I had to come in and take a look at where my personality fit in. I think that's a big thing when you're entering the school library, especially at the middle school, because you only get them for 2 years, at least in our district, is you got to put yourself into it somehow. And so for me, one of the big changes, and I was very lucky, I had an extremely supportive administrator in the first 4 years here, and he let me spend thousands and thousands of dollars to revamp the furniture in the library and the feel of the library. And I know that that's not everybody's luck, because they got to get lucky a little bit to have somebody to support you in that way. But one of the first things I did was I revamped the feel of the library. I didn't just change furniture, I changed the layout a little bit. I changed as much as I could. I added some soft seating. I got adjustable furniture that can move, movable furniture. Updated the types of technology we had. I added a makerspace area. So I really took what was already there and then just threw myself into it in my own way. I do still have a very veteran staff. And so they've been teaching for much longer than me. And so I had to be honorable to that. I had to really understand that I was not going to be the expert for them necessarily. So what did that look like for my veteran teachers? And how did that play into being able to make a connection? Because if I were to come in and just be like, well, I can help you, they're going to look at me and say, but can you? So what did that look like for them? COVID helped in a lot of ways, because I'm fortunate that I'm pretty technology savvy. And so I was able to really kind of squeeze in under that realm and kind of show off my expertise a little bit in that way. And then from there, it's blossomed. Teachers will call and now bring me in to help how to get technology or how to implement technology into their lessons. So they're experts in their curriculum, but I may be an expert in different ways to maybe help deliver that curriculum, or adding a new resource into giving that curriculum a new way to think about it or look at it. From there, Janet mentioned, we're not very departmentalized. I'm not focused on one sole thing. So from there, what we've been able to then accomplish now that I've established these relationships with the teachers is being able to implement our IDEA fellowship, which is where we're taking a bunch of our different departments and bringing them together for a culminating event. Our one that we have coming up for Hispanic Heritage Month is bringing together our Spanish teacher. Her students are going to be running an ofrenda in the library. Our home economics class is going to be making authentic sugar skulls that we'll have a display in the library with. The molds for those sugar skulls are going to be made through our Makerspace Club with our 3D printer. Our Central East folklorico dancers are going to be coming down and performing. And then our guitar class is going to be performing a piece as well. And so through those connections I've been able to curate over the years, we've been able to grow what we're doing and how we're doing it. And I think that that's the thing, is you got to throw yourself into it and put your own spin on it, and your own personality has to be in there with it. And through that, you're able to make those connections a little bit easier.
Yeah, Janet, is that true with you? You know, how the problem is, how do you get into the lives of the teachers who are all so busy and overwhelmed and all that kind of stuff? Janet, what's your experience been?
You absolutely, Megan said it so well, and Tommy did as well. You have to find the little space where you can come in and support them. A heavy hand doesn't do it. Being able to demonstrate that you bring something more to their lesson, something more to their table. I happen to be adjunct faculty at Fresno Pacific and the Teacher Librarian Credential Program. And I, always encourage my students who are new teacher librarians to reach out to the new teachers. That's always a great way to start. Megan, I think, had that veteran team, and she knew if she came in as the new person, it wouldn't be well received. So she found the approach. I think watching Tommy in the years he's been at Glacier Point, gradually across disciplines, teachers began to realize what a teacher librarian can bring to a lesson. That, certainly they are the content experts, but we are resource experts, and we are citation experts, and we know how to support you in what you're doing. I'll just share a quick story. When I first started, and I came into a library where the teacher librarian who was there was so dynamic, she made me look really dull. And I get that I'm not a dull person. But she was so engaging and so energetic. And when she first introduced me to the staff, I was going to work 3 days a week and she was going to work 3 days a week. And one of the teachers raised his hand and said, "Well, what days will you be here? Because I only want to work with you."
Oh.
Well, so fast forward a couple of years, and that teacher became one of my greatest supporters because he saw what we were able to do. He witnessed the connection that we were able to help teachers and students make with resources, the ability that we had to help solve that question of, how do I make this lesson more engaging for my students? How can I bring in resources that maybe I'm not familiar with? And so you have to be patient with yourself and with your staff, and not try to get everybody on the same team in the first year. It's going to take time. And there are some teachers that are resistant and don't really necessarily ever want to be connected. But I think when they begin to see the impact, that all it takes is one good lesson with one teacher in one department, and the word spreads like wildfire. This is what they did for me to support me and my students. And once you are able to get that connection, it's like dominoes then. Everybody kind of falls in. And I have seen that so much, Dr. Loertscher, with the teacher librarians we've hired. Well, it's been 10 years now. So, they are just such an integral part of their school that no one would ever now consider building a middle school in our district without a teacher librarian. When we build the new one, I know a teacher librarian will be on the staff list from the very beginning.
Right. So, what kind of advice would you give to superintendents and principals who want to have exciting people like you? What does it take to, see this different kind of vision and actually, incorporate this position into the school. Tommy, what do you think first, and then Megan, and we'll end with Janet.
I think they need to realize the school-wide impact a teacher librarian can have. I have, with my programs, my makerspace, I do family nights every year. A couple hundred people are attending. The community involvement is in the community and the families that attend. It's a wonderful engagement that has taken over and consumed our school. We're now like this whole maker community at school. The resources that come out of the library, we're like the hub of getting things done. Everyone thinks to the library first, as the support comes from us. As being able to be certificated test administrators, to help build lessons, to having big school-wide events like that. I think that's something a superintendent, a principal would find very valuable. It help support their mission of bringing in just not the students, but the family and community around the school to help promote and support student success. It's a big project, and it's the principal can't do it on their own. The superintendent can't do it on their own. They need a certificated person on site that can address needs that that are very specific to departments and to student learning. And that's what I feel.
Oh, that's wonderful. Megan?
For me, I think it takes a lot of trust and a little bit of faith and a lot of support. Like I said, came in 2019, and then we all know in spring of 2020, we all shut down. And I never was worried once about being let go because I was new. It would have been a very easy thing for an administrator to say, well, she's not tenured with the district, so we need to save some money. And it could have happened anywhere. I can see that have happened in other areas of our state. So I got very lucky that one, Central had built that foundation of, well, that's not going to happen. So I never was worried about that happening. But then two, when we came back, my site administration had a lot of trust that I was going to do what I needed to do, support where I needed to support, and then grow where we needed to grow because of those needs. So I was given a lot of trust to do what I needed to do. And I hope that I've proven that trust was well placed and what we have now going on here, because unfortunately it did take a little bit longer with COVID having been where it was when I decided to come over to Central. So yeah, I think it takes a little bit of trust to know that it's going to take a little time to build some of these things. It's not going to happen in the first year. It may not be fully developed in the second year, but by golly, that third year, fourth year, fifth year, you're going to see us hit the ground running. And so to understand that it's going to take a little time. So having that trust, having that little bit of faith that it's going to take a minute, and then just support, what do you need? How can we help you do that? And yeah, I think those three things go a long way.
Janet, do you agree with those two sentiments?
Well, of course I do, because I've seen what they've done. And I would say to superintendents and to principals that what we do in our district is we approach this as a cultural shift. And instead of the school library being just a place where you check out books, the school library becomes the hub, becomes the central part of the school. And the teacher librarian, as a certificated teacher, can be an extremely valuable part of the instruction curriculum team. And they can also be an incredibly valuable cheerleader on campus. We can offer a space where students are welcome, where teachers are welcome, where new ideas are welcome, where you can have a level of energy and fun that kids gravitate toward. And we know we have certainly defined student populations where they feel safest in the library. And we encourage that. We are really the ultimate team player because, again, because we're not committed to one department, we see that whole playing field, and we really can step in and play just about any position. I really agree with Megan on time. None of these things happen overnight, and you are not going to have a cultural shift in 1 year. And teacher librarians are expensive. We cost the same as a traditional classroom teacher. Having someone at the district level is expensive. But ultimately, the culture that you create, that belief in the power and the importance of reading, the safe environment for students, that wonderful blending of instruction and curriculum and technology. Teacher librarians are uniquely qualified to do that. And, you know, we saw everyone hire instructional coaches, and then that sort of kind of went by the wayside. I always think you find a good teacher librarian and put them in place and give them a couple of years, and you will begin to see a shift in the way the library is viewed, in the role of the teacher librarian. And ultimately, you will see benefits that are a little bit more difficult to measure. I mean, when I look at Tommy's Maker Night and I see all those families in there participating, I see parents doing these games with the students that the students built. You know, when we're doing our Battle of the Books and we get the kids in the middle school who win at the middle school level and they can hardly wait to go to the high school to be a part of Battle of the Books, you know, you start to see that shift in culture. And once you see that, the benefits are enormous for everyone. And so I know sometimes people are not exposed to the world's greatest teacher librarian, and that can sour their impression. So I would encourage principals and superintendents to visit districts where they have a strong library program. And they have people all the way down from the district level, all the way into the schools, and see what things they're doing at those schools that are so important.
That's absolutely wonderful. And to end this, what is the bottom line that keeps you going as a teacher librarian every day and every semester and every year of your experience? Tommy, give us that final sentiment, Megan, and then Janet.
Well, the need is great. From what we've already established, students are waiting for the next club meeting, for the next makerspace, for the next book club, for the next book release. And so if we weren't here, if I wasn't present, TL wasn't present, there would be a lot left unanswered, a lot of support left behind. And I just feel like we're invaluable to every person on campus, and we are the heart of the school. Simple.
Thank you.
For me, it's twofold. This can be a very isolating position, as you have to make those connections in order to be felt like or seen as part of the team. So having a district teacher librarian who helps guide and support you, and then having the other middle school librarians work as a team together, has helped us build those supports and those programs like Battle of the Books to be what they are. Without that support, this would be a much more difficult position in many aspects. That doesn't change the drive for the students, though. For me, being able to work anywhere with anybody on anything is such a fun aspect of this position. I love being able to still kind of dig down into my roots and go back to the band and go back to music a little bit, or go into home economics, or work with the video production teacher with our new drone that we got from the makerspace, and combine those two aspects of our school site. I love going into the ELA department and working with them, and then seeing the real results of students' test scores rise because of what types of books we're putting in front of our students. Same with the math and the science and all of that. That type of concept of being able to dig in deep with anybody on this campus is an amazing opportunity. And seeing the kids' faces when they see me walk around campus or when they come into the library and how excited they are to be here, it just really drives the want to keep doing this, even when it feels a little lonely when you're by yourself.
Thank you, Megan. And Janet, to top this all off.
Well, I think there's a couple things. Probably one of the things I'm proudest of and keeps me coming in every day is the team that we have put together in our district. We are incredibly fortunate that we have support from our superintendent and our assistant superintendent, that our district was willing to take a chance based on some good success with a couple of high school district teacher librarians, that they were willing to, take that extra step and expand our program. And because I get to hear on a regular basis the impact that our team is making. And one of the greatest things, it just came out every year, our district does, Central at a Glance, and under academics, the bullet point, teacher librarians, they called us out in the district at a glance. And that alone shows me what an impact we're making. And then for me, the bottom line really is, I haven't been in a school site for 10 years. I still can't go anywhere in this town that I don't run into a former student who tells me how much they love the library, how they felt so comfortable there, or I'll get a message on Facebook from someone who says, I still love reading because you inspired me to read books with your book talks. Or I still love to write poetry because we did the poetry slam. Or we have athletes as readers and leaders that are now taking that program and doing it at their own colleges. They're taking college students into the schools to read to the kids. And so we see our impact. And Megan really said it so well. It is an isolating position because you do work alone and very few people understand what we really do. But when you have a team like we have, and we know, at the end of the day, we do know we're appreciated and we do know we're valued, and that we make a contribution to our students and our staff and our community. It's critical for success.
Well, I just want to say that you three and the others are just world class. And you're quite right. When you see the impact on students and teachers, and then the whole culture of the community, you understand why this position in a school makes every superintendent and principal just so proud of what is going on. And it is a key to success far beyond just the test scores, right? Mm-hmm. That's where it all is. So we're going to say thank you to all of you. We appreciate your time and effort in sharing this message with everyone, and we'll say goodbye. So thank you so much.